quality better than before.
Don't be scared. Just recording.
She's always so loud.
Yeah. I noticed. You noticed. Like, relax. It's
You know?
so yeah. By the way, the podcast is the Experience Podcast, so, and it's kind of like I changed it to TEx Podcast. So I just talk to people in the industry, like music industry I met across the globe, everywhere. So people here as well, anywhere. I'm just trying to like just talk, talk to people pretty much.
I love it.
Yeah. So funny enough, like it didn't really occur to because I've been doing this podcast for like since 2023, right? When I moved here, because I
Hmm.
used to do it on radio, like the student radio.
Okay.
But it never occurred to me to like reach out to people outside Cornwall, because I'm like I do have like a lot of musician friends, everywhere.
Uh-huh.
That I should be able
Uh-huh.
to talk to them, like talk about just random stuff and their lives as well, and how we all connect in one way or the other. So
Well, you're very well traveled. Like you've lived more places than most other people.
true, true. I'm like a jumper. I just keep appearing everywhere.
That's very
Hopefully I'll
exciting.
settle
It's like your
down.
superpower.
Yeah, hopefully I should settle down one day. One day. Let's see how it goes. So yeah, so you are like my first guest from Canada.
Woo! Represent.
Yeah, represent from Montreal, Montreal. That's like where Montreal kind of like changed my life, It really redirected my life till now. So
I think that's the experience of a lot of people, and it's definitely my experience. But I've like never left. I'm thinking now about like maybe I should move because I've lived here for almost 20 years.
yeah, yeah, as well, as well.
Yeah,
Because I mean, if you talk like, let's go back like to your roots. Like, where you from again? You're from BC, right?
I'm from Victoria, BC. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I
the
yeah.
the most British place in Canada.
So, well, like, like, how was life back then, like, before Montreal? Like, now, this is like pre-Montreal. How was life?
Well, so I moved to Montreal when I was 17. So life before Montreal was childhood. And, um, Victoria, for those people who don't know, it's very picturesque. It truly is kind of the last British stronghold in terms of like the legacy of British colonization in Canada and like what that looks like in the sense of like there's still a huge expat community
Mm,
from England in Victoria. The lieutenant governor of British Columbia lives in Victoria, and it's like the one province that I think really takes that role quite seriously still. We have red double decker buses. The architecture in the like Central Harbor
mm,
is decidedly Victorian. Like it's quite something. So it has its own feel and vibe that I think is quite distinct from the rest of Canada. Um, Being that it is this like tiny little microcosm of British, like, but not even contemporary British culture, like Victorian British culture. And then the rest of the island, because of course it's on an island called Vancouver Island. It's not on the mainland. The rest of the island is like extremely like hippie vibes.
mm.
So it's like, yeah, the whole thing there is distinct and strange.
Wow. So it's like a thing within a thing, then.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been down there, so I don't really know. Like, I'm just trying to like get how do you call it, like the aesthetic of different places, pretty much. I mean, I guess the only other place I've been to, of course, Toronto. Everybody goes to the six, right? Everybody.
Yeah. Well, you got to run with your woes
Yeah,
through
yeah,
the
yeah,
six.
exactly. Hey, look, I mean, we actually went to the six together, right? We did
Oh, we did. Wow.
we did a
For
couple.
yeah, we DJ'd at that like play opening.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow.
We do have like a lot of memories though. Like,
It's true. It's so distant, but
yeah,
so
let's not,
vivid when you bring it up.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's not go there. We're focusing on you now. So,
Okay. Well, so what I'll say is aesthetically, a lot of people assume Victoria is like Vancouver, which is, the largest city on the West Coast. And I would say that they're like totally different. Victoria's much smaller. It really like has its own architectural look that is yeah, like Victorian architecture or like fake Victorian architecture, like stuff that's new, like built in the 90s, but still has like
that,
flourishes and styling. Um, it's very quaint. It's quite boring. Although I would say Vancouver is also like a little boring. It's like not very fun. But Victoria is like it's where people retire, like it's not like there's like a super vibrant, like youthful counterculture there.
mm,
Um so I have to say like I was focused on leaving for most of my childhood. Like it's no surprise that I moved to Montreal at 17 because that was like as soon as I finished high school, I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to Montreal. I really was quite obsessed with the music scene in Montreal as a teenager, like bands like the Unicorns and Wolf Parade, who's actually from Victoria and moved to Montreal. And, you know, I'm ashamed to say now, but Arcade Fire was like a big influence on me.
I was gonna say that, but hey, look,
Yeah, so I wanted to be here. I wanted to kind of like meet those people and see if I could get into that scene. And I went to Concordia University, which is where a lot of those musicians also went. And it happened pretty fast. Like I'd say within a couple years of moving here, like I started knowing a lot of these people, which was like amazing to me. I was 19, like I was like, wow, like you're famous.
yeah, wow, that's like, and when you moved, like, how was it? How was the transition? Like, I mean, you went to school straight. It was the same thing. Like, I came to Montreal for school as well, but
Right.
was there like
Mm.
any sort of like cultural shock or like there was like, how did you feel?
Okay, this is very funny. Within I think the first 2 days of moving to Montreal, I was all alone. Like my parents, we drove across the country. They dropped me off with my electric piano, and I was alone. And my boyfriend from high school was coming to live with me, but he wasn't there yet. So I really was like alone for the first time in my life. And I was very excited. It was cool. I lived right at the corner of Guy and Maisonneuve, which is like straight downtown, like right next to the Concordia campus. It's like total chaos, like it's like not a chill place to live. But I didn't know. I just wanted to be close to school. Um, so I remember like, yeah, maybe even like the first full day I was there by myself after my parents left. Like, I was just walking down St. Catherine, and this guy came up to me, and he was like, I'm an exchange student, and I like the student housing is closed now, and I have nowhere to stay. I'm just trying to get some change to like like just like to stay in the Y for one night, and then tomorrow I'm like gonna go to the student housing and figure my stuff out. I like gave him like all of this money. I was like, oh, that's terrible. Like I'm so sorry. That really sucks. And I don't know, I was probably like buying groceries or something, like something really normal, and then like went back home, whatever, didn't think about it. And then literally like the next day or 2 days later, I saw that same guy like doing that same story to someone else, and I was like, I'm a fool. Like this is the big city. Like I really gotta have my wits about me.
Oh my goodness, that's crazy. But I'm not surprised though. That's downtown for you.
and now I'm a lot more discerning.
Yeah.
Having lived here for 18 years, but I will say in many ways, sure, there was some culture shock in the sense of like this is really like a cosmopolitan city, especially compared to where I grew up. It's much more diverse. Victoria's quite diverse now, but when I was growing up, it really wasn't. So it was like just being downtown in Montreal, like seeing people from all over the world, and especially around the Concordia campus. There's so many international students. Like that felt very exciting and vibrant to me, and that was the experience I was looking for. So in as much as things were different, it was also very exciting. Like I didn't have that sense of like, oh, I don't like where do I fit? Like I was like, yes, like I've come to where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah. You felt like at home, pretty much like you felt like you were part of something. Like a
Yeah. I mean, it was just so cool. Like Victoria had one jazz club and it was very I mean, I shouldn't say it was pretty cool, all things considered. Like I'm glad that that place existed. It had a pretty like healthy scene and community around it. It was quite old, like there wasn't like cool young jazz musicians playing there that often, but like that existed. But it was just so cool to come to a city where like um there were, I would say, at least kind of three functioning like mostly jazz venues that had jam sessions, like open jams once a week. So it's like as soon as I got to the city, it was like, oh, okay, like I get to do this thing that I've heard stories about jazz musicians doing, like going every night to the jam and like getting better and meeting musicians. Like that seemed so it just seemed so big city to me. Like that was what I wanted to do, and it felt very exciting. In contrast, like my high school boyfriend that I moved here with hated Montreal and like never acclimated. Really found it to be like he didn't like the cold. He thought the architecture was like ugly and oppressive, which is true, I think, around Concordia, but very much not true for the rest of Montreal. Um, and yeah, he just never acclimated. It was like a very different experience for us because he was like more and more sad and lonely, and I was like making more and more friends in music and like going out every night and singing and like really having the time of my life.
oh wow. But isn't that like how do you now let's talk about that contrast, like being in a relationship with someone who doesn't see the in a way doesn't see the vision, or like rather his perspective or his experiences are different from yours. Like
Uh
you're like
huh.
this uh uh, um how do I call it? Um you are hopeful, like you're
Uh
bright,
huh.
like you're seeing things, like you're being exposed, experiencing new things. But on the other hand, your partner is like, I don't get it. And like,
Hmm.
how do you balance that?
I mean, we broke up. Like, there's
Look,
I don't know that there was balance. And like he wanted to leave, and I think we had to break up for him to feel comfortable leaving or feeling like, he wasn't letting me down or something. But it was like a very like predictable sort of falling apart of our relationship in the sense of like he felt neglected, I felt like annoyed that he like and that he was like jealous of my life or something. And we were very young, right? Like I was 17, he was 18, 19 at the time, and I don't think I had the capacity to be empathetic at the time. Like I was just like, what's wrong with you? Like this is obviously the greatest place in the world. In retrospect, now that I'm an adult, I can like look at that situation and be like, oh, that was actually probably one of the first instances in my life where I really had to accept that people have different experiences and that's okay.
yeah.
Like after he left, I was able to be like, oh, that's interesting that he didn't see Montreal the same way I did.
Mm.
But I think within the thing, I was just like, what's wrong with you? Like, I don't get it.
Wow, interesting. I just wanted to tap into that, like, the because I know, like, being in Montreal, like, especially like when you're starting afresh. meeting
Mm-hmm.
people. Because I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to this back to how we met. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you remember.
I don't. I know that we met through Stacy, but I don't remember like where or when.
Let me give you the lowdown.
Okay.
AC was doing photo like my photo shoot. She was like the one handling all my photos during that period. Because
Right.
a friend of mine
Uh-huh.
introduced me to Stacy. So
Okay.
it's not like a 6 degrees of separation type thing. Someone introduced me.
Sure.
I met Stacy. Then I went to Stacy's house to. I think I was meant to pick up something, or I don't remember, but I was in Stacy's house, and she was like, "You need to come with me to the park." Like, I'm going to the park. You know how Stacy is. She was like, "Yo, just leave your things. Just come, follow me, follow me."
Oh, I kind of remember this now.
Yeah. So I left all my things in that crib. We went to the
Uh-huh.
park. We met you
Uh-huh.
and other some other musicians. Then
Yeah.
we had like a picnic. It was like a random
Yeah.
picnic. We're just talking, just
Uh-huh.
random. It wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, but that's like the way. Like you do park hangs in Montreal. That's what our life is organized around.
But then we ended up at we did some other things which I can't remember, but I remember that like the night we ended up at the Big Nuts. The Big Nuts came to do like there was a friend of yours that was like, yo,
That was the night that we met. Because I have a memory of being at the Beatnuts show with you, but in my memory, that was like we were already friends. Like we had known each other for like a minute.
and I think that was the first time we met. Because we met at the park and Stacy was like, "Yo, this is Peggy. She sings. You guys be friends." That's how we became friends. Then
Whoa.
yeah, yeah,
And then didn't I have guest list for the Beatnuts show or something? Like
yeah,
I feel like there was some sort of connection where I like knew the promoter, right?
yeah. It was either you or someone else. I don't remember, but like
Right.
we were able to get us into the Beat Nuts show.
Yeah. Okay.
And
That's so funny because I did like the Beatnuts show is like a formative Montreal memory for me.
oh wow,
Like I do like that's like when I think about you, I think about that show.
oh wow.
But I really like in my memory was like, oh, we had already like made music together and DJ. Like in my head, this was like way later.
Nah, we hadn't done anything. I don't think we had done anything.
Wow.
I don't think. Yeah. I don't think we done anything. It was like after, because I think I just got your number. Then and then again, we just started hanging out. So I
Right.
pretty much now became closer to you than Stacy,
Right.
yeah, which was like, like I was pretty much hanging out with you like every other day. We're
Kinda. Yeah. We were
making,
hanging out a lot.
we're hanging out with, there were other people as well there, like, I don't remember his name. Yeah, other people. Anyways, whatever. Back to you.
Yeah.
No,
Whoever they were.
yeah, yeah. So, wow. No. Anyways, so back to you. Let's talk about now performing in Montreal, like your first big performance. What was it? Because you've done a lot.
Oh my God. My first big performance. Um, Gosh. I don't know. What do you consider big? Let's define the terms.
I guess significant. Like something that you feel like changed, like that was different from what you've been doing. Do you get me? Like something.
Okay. I mean, I think something that was a very sort of transitionary, like informative moment for me was at the Royal Phoenix. There was a year where I opened for I think first Mickey Blanco and then Cakes Tequila came through town. And I opened for both of them at Royal Phoenix. And I feel like that was the moment where I was like, okay, like I'm on to something with this project. I'm no longer doing like I'm gonna set down my adult contemporary neo soul band and I'm gonna like focus on this other track. Um and yeah, I think it was that year that I was like, okay, this works. This is fun. It's solo, like it's like less expensive, and like let me pursue this because it fits my lifestyle better too. Like at the time, I was like partying, having fun. Like I was like not it felt incongruous to be doing this like very classy neo soul thing that I was doing before.
Yeah, because I guess a lot of people don't know. Like, I knew you from the beginning, and I saw like the way you transition. And every time I'm always like, damn, like, like you really did it. Like you went from the classical soul piano.
Uh-huh.
You went through this edgy, off kilter, experimental, like hard to define genre pushing
Yes.
like right in front of my eyes. So it's kind of like amazing when I see the growth, and I do like I do appreciate that, like the growth. Like when I listen to your music now, like I see the
Hmm.
difference. You remind me of Toki Monster.
Oh, wow, what a compliment.
Yeah, yeah. You remind me like the way you perform, the way you deliver, and like the attitude and all that. Like it's really
Wow.
it's dope.
Thank you. That's very sweet. Um yeah, I've definitely come a long way, I think, from when you knew me, but I think also that trans like that kind of evolution
Mm.
is so typical of what Montreal does to people. I think there is like some strange magic in the water here where if because there are people that get defeated by Montreal. Like there are those people like, my first boyfriend here and like I've seen it before where people come and the city just like it sucks the life out of them, and it's like they get very depressed and like inertia and all of this stuff. But I think for the people that it works and like this is the right energy, inevitably it's going to make you reckon with your like identity in this really interesting way where it's like it almost inevitably draws out like the most authentic version of yourself, like the most extreme and authentic version of yourself that like is uncompromising, and that's the thing. And I feel like that's so true of what I associate with the Montreal sound regardless of genre. I think the artists from Montreal, generally speaking, have a very uh, distinct kind of sonic signature always.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's I don't know, that's like the best thing about being from here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you pretty summed it up. Like it's the way you put it is like really sound. Like I don't think I have anything to add to it because I mean me being there, me going through similar phases and working in Le Piano Rouge, those other places, like it really changed my life, like in
Uh-huh.
like working with Amaru. I don't know if you know
Right.
Lady Oracle, um,
Yeah.
working with especially women. I for some reason I like look, I'm gonna say this like women really changed my life like in this music business. Like they like in terms of teaching, like I was open to learn from you from everyone, and they were mostly women.
Yeah. Um there's it's interesting because I feel like so often I get that question from journalists around like the typical kind of like, oh, like you're a woman in such a male dominated genre or like male dominated space, whether it be like as a musician or studio artist or DJ. And in retrospect, like, yes, I think there were times where I felt insecure as a woman in some of those spaces, especially when I was younger. But when I look at the facts, like, there were always women around me. And, people like Lady Oracle who had really like laid a really amazing groundwork. That stuff was all like very informative in terms of like my experience. And I think that like yes, gender disparity exists, but at the same time I felt like very supported and loved, and that there was this kind of precedent set for me by other women.
Yeah, Yeah, I mean, there's so many of them. There are other people I fail to remember their names, and I apologize in advance, because it's I'm trying to see how I'm gonna frame it, but I do understand how it might feel, like the pressure or like working with being around, you know, but for me though, like being around women now, I'm looking at it from the male perspective. Like
Hmm.
it just felt natural because for me anyway, for me, I just wanted to learn. Like I wasn't trying to be like, oh, I know everything. I'm a man. I do this. I was always willing to like, yo, you take the lead or like let's share ideas, let's bounce ideas back and forth. Let's like in the word collaborate. Like a lot of people don't understand
Hmm.
collaborate. Like it's a back and forth thing, It's not like
Hmm.
you know, you get what I mean? Like it's people put heads together and make things happen, and that's the way I see the whole cycle, or rather like the um ecosystem with women in it. Like you can't discount their work, that the foundation they laid in this, you know.
For sure. Yeah. And I mean now I think it's more present than ever that women like are the top of the field. Like I don't know, like between Doechii and Meg the Stallion and like it's just like I think it's undeniable that women kind of like are ruling
Yeah.
rap music right now.
Yeah. And although like some people do they give me gripe for working with women. Like I tend to work with women a lot. Like, they'll be like, why can't you work with a male rapper? I'm like, yo, I'm like, yo, I don't know.
That's such a strange criticism to me.
Yeah.
I will say though, like as a young woman that was really like trying to enter this genre that was um not like new sonically for me, but new for me as a participant.
Mm,
Working with you was so encouraging. Like I think it helped me get over a lot of like the fear and insecurity I had. Um and it made me feel capable enough to like continue on.
mm,
And I think that's a very like special and important role that you played in my development as a musician. And I think that's very valuable. Like I think women should work with people that are willing to kind of like hold space and not have an ego and not, like which is a lot of stuff that I encountered, whether it be in the jazz world or in hip hop or in DJ spaces, like so having that counterpoint to really like start honing my craft and finding my voice, like people need those spaces in order to like have the confidence to be like, hey, like like the way that you're acting is whack, like otherwise you're gonna internalize that stuff and be like, oh, I guess I'm like not good.
yeah, true. Because at the end, like it wasn't like you were playing yes man, I was playing the yes man. We're really
Hmm.
feeding off each other's energy. And
Yeah.
felt comfortable. Like I think that was like that space was really comfortable for me to come to your house, like or sleep over.
Right.
Like there was that trust. We built that trust,
Yeah.
and there was the energy as well, like being able to create out of that trust, that friendship. I think we built the friendship before the music,
Yeah.
over time.
Definitely. Definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, it's cool. I feel like we had maybe one of the most effortless collaborations of my career, actually, and it's not to say that I'm not like friends with most of my collaborators still. But yeah, that was just like such a cool that was a cool way to start the Hua Li project, especially coming from the jazz world, which was so competitive and like, jazz school like messes your brain up. Like you leave jazz school thinking that you're bad at everything. And I think there's like in some ways a benefit to that as a musician, but in other ways, like I still all these years later have to be like, nah, I'm like this is like I can trust myself, like this is like I'm actually pretty sick at this.
Yeah.
Um it's I don't know, it's funny. Like all the time I have these like realizations of like skills that I've had this whole time where I'm like only willing to like acknowledge it now, where it's like, oh yeah, like, I actually have like a really good pitch center, or like, oh, I have like a very like solid sense of like time and rhythm, like it's like all of these things where it's like I just thought I was bad at everything for so long.
Yo, that's crazy though. Like looking now from my perspective, I was like, yo, she's actually good. Like in my head, I'm like, oh, I never said it. I'll admit, I don't think I ever said it. Have I ever? I know you're good. Like I was like, yo, like I need to work with this
Aw.
every time. Like because I mean, there was no one else for me to work with. Like, um, yeah, there was no like. I mean, all the guys I know, like they are really big. Like Dr. Mad
Right.
doing his thing.
Yeah.
Shashu was doing his thing. Of
Oh
course,
my God.
Ketra was already
Yeah.
Green Hypnotic was already doing his thing. So they kind of
Yeah.
like had their own thing going on. Then
They
I
had their own community happening already. Yeah.
so it was difficult for me to like really get into that. What they call like the Alez. That was the crew, Alez,
Right. Oh yeah, that's right.
like the pew
Man,
pew
I forgot about that. Yeah, the pew pew scene.
yeah people like
And it's so funny, like all of those people are except for Keitra, who's obviously like a superstar now. But I'm like so close with most of those guys now. But I wasn't really part of that pew pew scene back then.
oh wow. Well, yeah,
Like I was aware of it, but I wasn't like chilling with them. I felt like the music I was doing was like pretty distinct
this thing.
from what they were doing. But yeah, I mean like Shashu's like one of my best friends now. Like Gayance, who was like doing that documentary back then, like she's like really like my best girlfriend now. Like like I can't think of another musician I feel tighter with than Gayance. And like I don't yeah, it's very sweet. Like Doc Mad, he's around. Like I don't know, like all of these people that felt like legends to me. And I think that's the other thing is like at every step of the way, like there's always been people I really admired in Montreal, and then within a certain amount of time, it's like, oh, I'm like your friends now. Like which is so cool and validating, and there's so much opportunity to like learn from people that you admire in this city.
Yeah. So much like I'm really glad like I went through the school, like the Montreal school,
Yes.
being on the street,
Yes.
everyone being in the clubs, being like I don't know, like the random stuff we used to do. I mean we should talk about that on a separate podcast because this is about
I yeah,
pretty much.
I want to say though, is this meeting going to end?
Yeah. Can we do it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, should we just restart?
Yeah, I'm gonna restart. I'm gonna
Okay.
like then I'll send you like a link, then we'll wrap it up.
A few moments later.
Okay. Before you jump into that, the question I asked,
Yes.
just want everyone to know that when you guys hear, I'm pretty sure it's Teck-Zilla. This is the face. Actually, you and Stacy did both.
Yeah, I was gonna say Stacy has his drop too.
Yeah, both of you did, and people liked it. Like I've been using it for years, and that's what people say. Oh, I'm pretty sure it's Teck-Zilla. I'm pretty sure it's
I love that.
yeah.
It's like how every time I see Shashu, I like can't help myself. Like I'm like, it's gotta be Shashu.
Always gotta be Ash. Oh my goodness, good memories though. Good memories. So so yeah, back to the question. You were talking about the music industry and your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish I had brighter, more positive things to say, but I've seen a lot of changes in this industry over the last 18 or so years. I ran my own record label called Art Not Love Records for a while, from I don't know, like 2015 to 2013 to 2015 ish, which was a very different landscape than we exist in now. And now, of course, I'm a working recording artist and DJ, and I also am the label manager at a label based in Toronto called Outside Music, and I also run their imprint Next Door Records. And even in the last, I don't know, 3 years that I've been working for Outside, I feel like things have changed for the negative. today, this really great music journalist called Sean Ronaldo, who writes a publication called First Floor, published an article that basically was condemning the state of the music business. But I feel like he summed it up in such a beautiful way. He talks about the idea of hypernormalization, which refers to post-Soviet Russia, the period of time where Russian society was ever so corrupt and broken and hopeless. And basically, the population conceded that there was absolutely no alternative. And they just accepted that, all of the government officials were corrupt and that nothing would ever get done. And, the state of, they just hyper normalized the state of affairs. I think that's such an apt metaphor for where the music industry is at right now. I don't think it makes sense for independent artists to be within the same marketplace as major label and top 40 artists. And that is the result of streaming platform supremacy, right? Like we are now, for the first time in history, basically, there is this flattening of culture where independent music and all of the values and goals of independent music is presented alongside all of the values and goals of major label music. And it's very challenging for the average consumer to understand any distinction between these things, because platforms are flat in aesthetic, right? Like Spotify looks like Spotify, Apple Music looks like Apple Music. There's no real means to parse out within these platforms like what is truly an independent artist or not, unless you have that insider knowledge. So it's an incredibly depressing time to work in music. I have to say, like, I don't know if I can continue working on the industry side. Like, I'm always going to be an artist, but every day I'm at the label, I question whether or not I'm doing anything actually beneficial. I feel like I give a lot of bad news to the artists on the label these days. And, there were once levers that labels could pull, really basic things like papering a room when an artist tours in a big venue for the first time. That, you could question the morality behind papering a room and building buzz around an artist, but at the same time, like, that was something that worked. That was a strategy that people had access to. We can't afford to do that anymore. We can't really afford to, like, pull any of those levers anymore. And the ones that we can afford and that were once important, like hiring publicists and stuff like that, they don't really move the needle anymore. So I don't know. I don't know what to do. It's hard for me to accept that I'm working within a system that is so hyper normalized. Like, everybody is just like, well, this is all we can do. It's hard for me to sit and talk to my bosses and have them be like, yeah, but we have to participate in the DSPs and don't say anything bad about them. And, this is what keeps the lights on. It's like, yeah, I guess, but is this like, we're just going to accept this is our reality? Like, it's only going to get worse. So I don't know. I don't have the most bright, sunny perspective on the music industry as it stands, but I do think that art is in a really interesting space, and that artists, because admittedly it is more accessible to get basic access to music tools. Like, it's still always going to be expensive to have like studio quality stuff, but you can torrent Ableton and a bunch of plugins and bam, like, you're making really quality beats. You can record at home. Like, there is like a level of accessibility that I think is great for creativity and great for artistry. And I think there are a lot of really, really great artists right now. Is there a viable industry ecosystem to support those artists, especially the emerging ones? I really doubt that as it stands right now.
Oh, wow. That's a clip. Like, I'm going to
keeping it real with Hua Li.
The funny thing, like, uncannily, that everything you just said about the industry now was my final project, which I did last year. I was talking about the viability of like the industry and how maybe, just maybe, we could use another type of economic system. There's this
Right.
movement coming up, like, I don't know if you ever heard about it, degrowth. It's called is
Yes.
yeah, yeah. So I actually dabbled into that, looking at different types of business models, economic
Hmm.
changes we could use, like more of like we're looking at more of like redistributive methods as opposed to just consuming one, like
Hmm.
where everything kind of like feeds into each other and everybody gets a piece of the pie. I mean, it looks,
Right.
yeah, it looks cool on paper anyway, but implementation is, that's all different.
Yeah, I mean, I just finished reading a couple weeks ago Mood Machine by Liz Pelly, which is if you haven't read it, you and all of the listeners, you must read it if you care about the music industry as it stands right now. I think it's just an incredibly detailed expose on the growth of Spotify, the motivations of the founders of the company, and how we got to this moment. But one of the things that she talks about at the end is like alternatives, which is great because otherwise it's a very depressing book. Uh, but one of the things she talks about is this model. I can't remember the name of the group right now, unfortunately, but it is a group of jazz musicians that have created basically like a label, sort of their own self-distributed network, where everybody has to have like exclusive recordings for that network that aren't available anywhere else. And everybody shares the profits equally. So if there's one like very much more famous artist, that like that still gets shared evenly. And it's quite a small group. It's localized, it's like a real community of musicians that do work together and collaborate a lot. And I think that model really makes sense for something like jazz, which is inherently like collaborative. Usually everybody is generating ideas
Mm.
because it's an improvised music. You can't really say like, well, that person like owns the IP on this. It's like, no, like even if you wrote the song, like this saxophonist solo like really made the recording or whatever, So I think in that genre it makes a lot of sense. And because it is like a real community of artists that work together, that can function, and I think it can function for a long time. How do we scale that for other types of companies and labels and like even artistic practices? I don't know. It's so hard to imagine these alternatives, and I think that's one of the main problems of the industry right now, is that everybody is just sitting around being like, well, there's nothing we can do. We have to just keep being unpaid marketing interns for Spotify, like so yeah, I think I've been more pessimistic than ever this year. I used to be like, there's good, like Spotify will fail and there will be an alternative. And I still believe that. I think we have to believe that that's true. But it is becoming harder and harder to imagine what that alternative is.
Yeah, I mean, the only alternative I can think of right now, like, is similar to what you said about the jazz musicians and people. Like, there are like a handful of even independent rap artists that sell straight direct to the consumer,
Hmm.
put it anywhere else until like maybe 3 4 months later
Right.
they make the music, they put it on the website, and you buy the WAV files. Like, look, this album goes for maybe $10.
Right.
You just buy straight from that website. You don't go anywhere else. You can't find it anywhere else besides that. So I mean,
Yeah. Which I think is cool, but you really do have to have like a strong fan base to
yeah,
make that viable, right? Like if you have no fans, but I mean, here's the thing that I think is like I'm arguing myself out of a job right now, but one of the reasons that people it's important to artists to be on labels is because they believe that like the label is going to help them find that audience. And I have to say, like, I have no idea how to find anybody an audience anymore. Um,
Yeah, it's
I really hope my boss doesn't listen to this podcast, but like I don't know what the strategy is anymore. Like generally speaking, I'm asking artists like, okay, we got to develop your socials. We have to like develop your branding. You have to be the face of it and you have to do all of this work. And like, yeah, we can pay for a publicist, whatever. We're going to do what we always do. But then it's like, because you're now signed to a label, you have to participate in this like digital streaming platform system. So it's like you're doing all of this content and you're also having to develop content for each one of these streaming platforms that have their own demands for assets. So like the amount of labor that we're asking artists to do now is like infinitely more than it was 10 years ago even, you know? And on top of that, it's like now, like you've done all of this work because the label has asked you to, and you're competing with Taylor Swift. Like it's just, I don't like, it's so hard to imagine how this is supposed to work. And I think the case for like, hey, if you don't sign to a label, so no one's making you put your music out on Spotify if you don't want to, and you put all of that effort not into creating basically ad content for Spotify for free. You're putting effort into building out your own mailing list and your own community. And now you own that data of who your fan base is and you're selling direct to consumer. Yeah, that's awesome. And if you can do that, like let's say you're even able to get 50 people to buy your record off of your website, but those 50 people all live in the city that you live in and they're all going to buy a ticket to your show. Like already that's a much more financially successful model than the one where you're just like making a bunch of content for free. Like I don't know. It's hard to say. And now that I'm this far into my career, like it's hard for me to even picture like what would it mean if I pulled all of my music off of DSPs? Like my label would drop me for sure, 100%. That would be the first consequence that I would have to deal with. And then from there, it's like, okay, well, can I bankroll my own releases? Can I like, you know, do I need a publicist? Would I hire a publicist? What does that mean? How do I market myself? How much money of my own am I putting into digital marketing? You know, like it's all so intertangled. And like, I have to say, this is another very depressing thing that could very well get me fired. But like, I'm not motivated to sign emerging artists to the label right now because I can't articulate for myself. I don't truly believe that that's the best option for them. I'll sign a mid-career artist and I think we can work with that and really work their catalog and make it grow. And like our old school music industry practices can work for a mid-career artist. But can I, in good faith, say to an emerging artist, like, hey, give us 50% of your masters and we're going to like do the thing that we do and it's going to work for you? No, I don't know. It hasn't worked for me and I'm an artist on the very label that I work for. So
yeah, I feel you. You know, funny thing, like I watched the clip of Hua Li saying the same thing. It was like, independent artists stay away from the music industry. Which like that's the summary. Like you need to find your community. You need to build your own ecosystem. You need to build your own space to be able to make music and be able to live off music. I mean, how? That's a different thing. But yeah. But I think
well, and here's the thing is that up until even, I don't know, literally like this past year, I really believed in indie labels. I really believed that still we were in this world where independent labels operated on a completely different model than major labels do. And so, you know, if you asked me 3 years ago, like if you told me that same quote from Hua Li, I would have been like, yes, well, what he means actually is like stay away from the major label system, which is going to eat you up and then spit you out and you're not going to be for the better. You're going to lose ownership of your IP and it's like not going to benefit you. But an independent label, it's a different story, blah, blah, blah. You still own part of your masters, et cetera, et cetera. It's really hard for me in good faith, again, to say that now. I don't know. I mean, listen, I know that fundamentally we're very different from a major label. Yeah. Our values are different. Our motivations are different. But again, we're competing in the same marketplace.
Yeah.
So in many ways, financially, it's not that different. The result is not that different. We're just competing in a marketplace where we have zero share and like zero impact. Like how are we as this little label in Toronto supposed to compete against Warner Brothers?
Yeah, like how do you compare with UMG? How do you compare with like Sony? Like,
Yeah,
like where do you start? Like where do you even start? Not even you're not even like really in the game. Like you're just
exactly.
you know
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
the beginning point. I know.
Yeah, and again, even 10 years ago, I would say that independent labels still lived in their own ecosystem. And then it made sense to sign to an independent label because you were working within a marketplace that specifically accessed audiences that were interested in supporting independent artists. And yes, it wasn't like millions and billions of dollars, but it was a viable future and career.
So what with all that being said,
Everyone should quit. No, I'm just kidding.
like everyone
Go to law school.
go get a job, a real job. No, but I get you though. What's your advice? Like, what would you tell like newcomers like entering the field? Like, what would you tell them not to do on to do? Like anything?
Man, I would say go slow. Like don't buy into the pace of what's demanded of us now. It's not about virality. It's not about getting on a huge playlist and getting like a million streams on one track. It is about
Although that's not bad though. But go on.
but what does that mean for your career? Like, where do you go from there? You still can't sell tickets. Like, like I don't know. It's so anyway. Yes, it is cool. If that happens, it's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But if we're talking about again, like, what are the goals? What are the motivations of independent artists and companies versus major labels? I think the fundamental motivation for most independent artists and labels is simply sustainability. Can you sustain a career over the course of ideally a couple decades at least?
Yeah.
Right? Like, can you be a working musician sustainably for any significant amount of time? And if that is the goal and motivation, then things like a viral video or getting a single song with 1 million streams is not the goal. The goal is to build a community locally and then slowly grow and get fans that are invested in you for a lifetime, that care about where you're going every step of the way and maintaining that.
So a marathon then instead of a sprint. You need to play the
Absolutely.
I always tell artists play the long game.
Yes. I think that's the only way. And, as frustrating as I find my own career a lot of the time, there's clearly been growth from record to record. I get better at making music and, I get a couple more fans every record. Would I like things to go faster? Yes, of course. Like I would love for that like uncanny thing to happen in my career that just like launches me into the next level where I'm like, not even the stratosphere, just the next level. I've been at this same level for so long, like I would love to be like, okay, now I can tour and I can do 1,000 cap rooms. I'm not asking to play stadiums here, like I would love to be able to headline 1,000 cap rooms. That's quite far off for me now. Like I can't even headline 100 cap rooms in a lot of markets, but like there is that thing for indie artists where it's like, yes, like there sometimes you get that one thing, like, oh, you get for some reason the New York Times covers you, then it's like, oh, suddenly you're legitimized and everyone cares, so yeah, I just think it's like you need to work to those little goalposts. It's not about, again, like a viral hit is not going to get you anywhere. That is not a sustainable career. The number of people that have viral hits that couldn't sell 10 tickets in any given market is unfathomable. Like, that is not a career. And if you don't get onto an editorial playlist with your next song, what are you going to do? Now your entire career hinges on the goodwill of Spotify?
Sad, but I don't even know what to say. Hey, guys.
But find the joy in making music, right? And I think, like, for people like us, that's what it is. Like, we're not going to stop making music just because everything sucks right now.
Yeah, true.
In fact, we have to make music in order to not be so sad, you know? Like, it's like, as a result of everything sucking, I have to make music even more. Right? So again, it's like, what is your motivation? Is your motivation to, like, just be a superstar? Well, I don't know. Like, that's going to be hard to sustain over a lifetime.
True.
And you're probably going to end up doing something else eventually. Unless you become, you're the rare person that is a superstar, like, which is great. Kudos to you, you know? But, like, for most of us, where the motivation is like, I'm just passionate about making music and I want to express myself, and it's really cool if some people hear it and it resonates with them. Like, we don't have a choice. We have to just keep doing it.
True. You know, yeah, that's I mean, it's like a gift and a curse, you know. It's the same.
Yes.
I get stuck in that. Sometimes, like, I'm always like, why am I doing this? Then I always have to remind myself, like, this is why. You know, it's not because of the money. It's not because of the fame. Like, I mean, I've been lucky. I've been able to travel because of music. I've been able to, you know, go to places I never thought I could visit.
Yes.
You know, because of music. But still, I know there's still more. There's still, like, that sense of fulfillment. Like, I'm trying to do something, and it's not a monetary thing, you know. Like, I mean, money, of course. Like, money gives me access to do things. That's the way.
Money's great. Yeah. I mean, I would never turn down money.
Yeah. No.
Well, within reason.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we get it.
But yeah, I hear you. I think truly the advice that I would give most young artists that are starting out is, like, don't forget about the things that really make you happy. Like, you need to celebrate those wins along the way. As an example, last week I was playing at a music festival in Quebec City, and it was a showcase festival. For those of you who don't know what a showcase festival is, it's like an opportunity for artists to go and play in front of, generally speaking, like, industry people. And those are shows that are really hard because it's a bunch of jaded industry. It's people like me that hate the industry. I'm, like, listening to your show being like, I can't do anything for you, you know? Like, it's not the most inviting audience. These are not fun shows to play, you know? So on Monday, I played an industry showcase, and it was fine. I had very realistic expectations as to how that show was going to feel. But then the next day, I DJ'd the, like, after party of the festival, and it was really, like, exuberantly fun because now all of these music industry people, it's the end of their night, they're drunk, they're just trying to have a good time, you know. All of the artists from the festival are there, and they're drunk, and they're just trying to have a good time. And, you know, in that environment, like, I got to play stuff that, I mean, I spin the same kind of stuff anywhere I go, but it comes off better in some places than others, right? And it was just like, this is like a musically literate audience that is, like, interested in hearing things that they haven't heard, or, like, the excitement of, like, oh, like, this remix, like, I never imagined this song could sound this way, or, like, wow, like, what's Chicago footwork, you know? Like, it's like people who are hungry for that kind of stimulation. And, like, you know, it was the most fun I've had DJing in a minute. Like, I played a 3-hour set and people danced the whole time, and, like, they were excited, and, like, you know, that's a win. Like, I'm going to carry that with me for months. The next time I do a weird DJ gig where, like, you know, no one's dancing and I'm alone in the club, Like, I'm gonna think back to that moment in Quebec City and be like, oh yeah, but like, it's not me, it's the circumstances, and that's okay.
True. We haven't even really talked about your DJing. You know that, right? Because you do so many things. Like,
I do.
yeah, yeah. And I do remember when you started DJing. Like when, yeah, yeah. Hey, look, I keep up with the everything.
Man, I was such a bad DJ back then.
Everyone was, including myself, terrible. Like terrible. Like
I had
trash.
no idea what it even meant to be a DJ back then. I didn't like the fundamentals. I didn't know. Like I had no idea like it was important to beat match. Like basic stuff. Um it's really cool now, I feel like, because everybody in the world is a DJ. um, but there's so much more information. Like if you want to learn how to use like CDJs, like there's like 1,000 tutorials, and there's people that like tell you fundamentally like here are the basic, like you need to think about beat matching. You need to think about, like, and this is how you do it. This is how you use an EQ strip. Like a lot of the things that I was figuring out on the fly back then, and it took me like, an embarrassingly long time to learn. I feel like people can pick up so fast now, and that's so sick. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. When I first started playing on CDJs, like I was just like, what the hell is this? Like, I didn't know how to set up my tracks properly in Record Box. Like, I like thinking back on those like early DJ sets where I was just like, I had no idea what I was doing, and yet people let me play in the club. Like I don't understand it. I'm grateful for those experiences, but like, now I truly do feel like I have a well honed skill set, and I know how to use the CDJs in a way that is unique, like, that is like unique to me and the way that I engage with this instrument. And like, I have like my own little routine and things that I like value when I'm mixing. Like it took me so long to hone those skills, and I'm so grateful for that now. But when I look back on how like the way I DJ'd for like years, I'm like, damn, like why didn't anyone tell me?
I was learning on the fly. I was watching DJ Lady Oracle, um, Vanessa Ness, DJ,
Yeah.
and there's another person as well. I forget her name. She's the DJ at the W. She had tattoo.
Oh, fancy.
Maybe Nancy. I think so. I think Nancy. Maybe, I don't know.
I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm just like trying to get into the story as well. Like I was the same, like in the same space, just trying to find my way along. And I guess over time, like when you do something repeatedly, you get better because
Yeah, thankfully.
come on. No. Like when you find new ways to do things. You find better ways to do things, I think, because when you make mistakes, when you make like back to back, you be like, oh wait, I could actually do it this way, and it sounds
Right.
good.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the major things is now is like I have a real facility and control over the gear I use. So I know how to like do stuff. Like I can do things with intention. Whereas I feel like for a long time, like I would like accidentally have really good sets
Oh,
sometimes.
fair.
Like, and then I would be like, oh cool, that went really well. But I like wouldn't necessarily know why. Like it was like I accidentally did everything right one night, but could I replicate that the next night? Maybe not.
Mm.
Whereas now it's like, yeah, I know like there's a process.
Mastering control. Because I see
Yes.
like I do martial arts a lot. Like over time, like I noticed, like if I look at myself when I was younger doing martial arts, I'm like, nah, it's the same thing. Like I see myself like, nah, why like what are you doing? But now, like when you do it, like over the years, over time, you notice the growth, like the changes, the little subtle nuances that you need to take to be better at certain things.
Yes.
over time. It's a time thing,
Yes.
time and experience, and it's more to be honest, it's more of like experiential type thing. Like the more you do this, especially DJing, like or you intentionally, that's the word. Like I'm not saying, of course some people are still terrible, but you need to be intentional and be like, look, I need to get better, I want to get better, I will get
For
better.
sure. Well, and I think that's the thing too, is like as much as I think it's awesome that like there's so much information out there for like specifically like what to do, what are the basics, how to like navigate DJing on a technical level, there are things that are ephemeral and take experience, like crowd control.
Yep.
And that's something that like again, like, you know, it used to be a mystery. Like it was like, well, I'm just playing music I like, and like that seemed to go well tonight, but like will it go well tomorrow night? I don't know.
Yeah.
And now it's like I really can like feel like it's like, okay, I can, you know, I know what to do, or like if this isn't like, you know, oh, I made the BPM way too fast, like people don't know how to dance to this today in this room, like let me do a fun backspin and really switch things up, you know, like things that would have been scary to me, like it's like, oh, how do I drop 30 BPM, like I'm so scared.
Yep. Oh wow, that's dope though. That's I like the way you framed it, like the perspective and the way you really broke it down. That's another clip anyway. So we should try.
Man, we have to DJ together again soon. Like I'm really trying to get over to the UK this year. Hopefully, fingers crossed. And if I do, we need to do some gigs. Like I think we both need to mutually acknowledge how far we've come.
Yeah, we true. Like we've come a long way. I've seen your growth. Sometimes your PR people, they get at me, you know, like they send music to me, and which is cool. I in a way, because it makes me feel like I'm an outsider, but I'm like insider ish. You know, it's like I feel cool though. Like,
I feel like it's so cheeky because the publicists are always like, "Oh, we got this," and I'm like, "That's my friend." I'm like, "Yeah, that's sick," but like, you didn't do that.
I did it. I did. Yeah, true. I mean, which is cool though. Like I like the fact that you've been able to go from pretty like indie, like you're still indie, but you know what I mean, like pretty.
Yeah, now I have a team, which is
You know.
great. I mean, that in and of itself is something to be so grateful for.
Yeah, and also like the growth in the music itself, the styling, the rebranding, coming from Peggy to Hua Li, the entire like the pastiche, like it's sick. That's all I need to say. Like it's
Thank
dope.
you.
I really
Thank you.
like.
I'm about to do something crazy, which is now, after all of these years of building the story of Hua Li, the next Hua Li record is going to be a jazz record. And everyone's mad about it because, of course, it sucks to switch genres when you're on the streaming platforms.
Yeah.
It's like career suicide in many ways. And like, it's funny because the whole thing was like, I wanted to stop doing jazz to like do this like experimental kind of electronic rap. But I really want to make a jazz record. And it's like, in terms of all of my feelings toward the industry, it felt like it has to be under the same umbrella as Hua Li. Like I will not do a differently branded thing. Like it's all me. I contain multitudes. Take it or leave it. The jazz record's going to be sick. So, you know, if you don't vibe with it, listen to something else.
Yeah, it's as simple as that. Like you need to be unapologetic with your music. That's what I always tell people. Like whatever you put out, you should be able to defend it. You know, like if you ask, yeah, whatever, yeah, I did it. I said it with my chest. You know, like I said it. I said it. You know,
One hundo.
Yeah, straight up. So, yeah. So, like, I mean, we could go on and on. We have so many stories that we could get into.
Truly.
Yeah. But you know, we'll probably save it for something else. You know, we could always do a part 2, part 3. Or
I feel like we have enough material between the two of us for like a 12-part documentary series. Like
Facts.
Yo, Netflix, holla.
Facts. Like, oh my goodness, man. Like the memories, like some of them are just coming back. I'll be like, oh my, like remember that time, remember this, remember this.
Yeah, yeah.
I think the main thing, like, I'm just stick to the script because I just want this to be about you. You know, Hua Li, you're doing your thing. I'm really proud of you. How far you've come. Like I can't wait to hear your new music. I can't wait to, like I'm glad to be part of your journey as well. And also you,
Oh, that's so sweet.
the way you impacted me as well. Like it really, I could never forget you. That's what I need to say.
I feel the same way about you, Tech. Oh, this is so sweet. Yeah, I love that you're out there. I feel like you're a champion for me wherever you are, and that's a really special connection. Again, if we're gonna talk about advice, shit like that matters. Like those relationships, that's what's gonna keep you going forever.
Fact.
And like being able to maintain like a beautiful, creative, like mutual understanding and admiration over years is so special.
Yeah, sure is. Even though like we haven't spoken like 10 years, like we just picked up, like we just spoke yesterday. Like we just
Yeah,
that's how it should be.
one
Because
hundo.
yeah, that's how it should be. But I mean, we could go on and on. But thank you for taking time out. I know it's like early over there, like pretty.
Oh, it's not that early. It's noon.
Don't mind me. I'll try. Hey, look, I'm trying to jazz it up a bit. But yeah, I do appreciate you getting up early for this, and it's been a long time coming. Like we're meant to do this for a minute, and yeah, please, let's keep in touch. I'm always here. I'm always here,
Yes.
and hopefully we will cross paths. Like I don't know,
Yes, I'm gonna make it across the pond this
Yeah.
year.
Will
That's the goal. So
it will be
I'll
dope.
be there. I'll be there.
Will be dope. Yeah, we should definitely make this happen.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you again. This is Hua Li, Huali. Don't get it twisted. Hua Li
Woo.
check her out on all platforms. She
Yes.
dope stuff for everyone.
Thanks, Tech.
Dope stuff for everyone. And before you go, you can please say my tag again.
I'm pretty sure it's Teck-Zilla. I'm like, it's gotta be Teck-Zilla.
Oh wow. So yeah, thanks for coming in. And we'll definitely talk more in the near future.
Respect.
Yeah.
So great to connect.
Yeah, same here. Same here. So have a lovely day.
You too.